you all going? So glad that you could be here. We're going to take you for a tour on and around our camel yards. So I'm going to start by taking you through the routine that we have our camels in. So how we get them from a field paddock, which is out that way, the field paddock into this is what we call the yard paddock. They're actually grazing out here at the moment, and then we have the actual yards just up there. So one of the most important things to remember is routine for your camels. Also, if you are finding, if you guys can just check that you're all on, you're all muted. So there's a little button that you can just press just so that we don't have any interference. Anytime that you have a question, pop it in the chat box, or maybe we'll wait till the end, and if you guys want to pop on camera, you can ask any questions and I can show you extra features or whatever, or you want me to go back on something, that's totally possible. So I'm going to start by basically being the camel. So what it actually looks like from the camel's perspective going into our yard area. So everything that you do with your camels, you've got to think like a camel. You know, you've got to think from the camel's perspective, like how are they going to see that fence, and how are they going to see what do they think about that plastic bag that's flying over yonder there, or any other animals that are around. So we've set all of this up with camels in mind, and it takes some tweaking, but in the end you get there, and you understand what I'm saying soon as I get in. So let me just switch this around. So this is one of our field paddocks. So this is where they go out grazing. We've got like 12 acres that way. So this morning they were in this paddock here, and we have basically, well, we didn't have to muster them at all, but sometimes we have to muster them through this gate here so that they can go up to the yards there. Now, it depends. The funny thing with camels is when bringing them into their yards or a place where they know training handling is going to happen, drenching is going to happen, you know, that a yard setup's normally to a camel, okay, something's going to happen. One thing that we suggest that people do if their camel's a little bit shy of like shying or spooking at any camel yards, if your camel's new or what have you, is to actually put their food and water and everything that they need inside those yards, and eventually they will walk in and get into there. I know that someone in the academy here recently had a problem with that. So her camel's first experience in the camel training in the camel yards was getting a halter on for the first time. And since then, that camel's been a bit shy and a bit spooky about being in those yards. So I just suggested put the food, put the water, put everything that camel needs into that yard. And even if you're feeding out every day, like feeding hay or what have you, do that in the yards every single day to get them in a routine that, you know, this is actually a nice place to be. So all of that takes time. So let's just pretend that, you know, we're the camel, and normally we either muster them in, so we can actually do a whole other video on how we muster our camels, because we've got a few, as you can see, so they move as a group. So we just go, we muster them through, or sometimes they bring themselves through these gates. So we've got two gates. We've got one here and one up here. And honestly, this is just ideal. You need kind of laneway setups or makeshift laneway setups. None of this, we've done a lot of improvements here, so don't ever feel like, oh my god, like that looks like a lot of work and a lot of infrastructure. There's lots of ways you can go about it without that. So this technically isn't a laneway because there's a big gap here, but we do just have one single wire hot tape, that's all. You know, like our camels are pretty trained into the hot tape, and we got one at the end of the driveway there, which used to be here, but you know, we just made it at the end, and sometimes they sneak up there. So they come through here, they're in the routine. Now I would say if these were new camels, and just say that they were all new camels, I would put the hot tape, I would make the laneway not too narrow that they're a little bit scared about it, but you know, narrow enough that they have no other option like to wander off that direction. So and the other alternative is we can close this gate behind the camels as they come through, so that's just a reinforcer to keep pushing through. And again, like, this is no technical laneway set up here, but all this tape just runs directly to the entrance of the Camel Yards. So it is set up for success. That's what you've got to remember is, like, there will be errors, you know, because especially if it's a new thing, but set yourself up for success in that way. So we're going all the way through here, and you know, they do have all this stuff, all this entrance over here. So if, like, again, if they were new, completely new and fresh camels, we'd even put another hot tape along here. So it is a laneway and they have no other option but to go forward. And this is the other thing too. If there was, just say, instead of that tree, there was a building and they're new camels, they will need practice and routine to get them past this building, because camels like to see out. So you can see here that nothing is blocking their entrance into the Camel Yards. It's all open. Camels like openness. They like, because they're animals that are preyed upon usually. Well, you know, in evolution anyway, the lions, tigers and bears would attack from behind. So they like to make sure they can see everything. So that's why camels will always fear going into enclosed spaces, because they're prey animal. So it's just part of their instincts. So this is, normally we open this gate a little bit more. So it acts as a funnel. That's all you got to think of, is how can I funnel the camels into a yard. And we normally have another hot tape up along here, but because they're grazing, it's down at the moment. So these camels have been funneled into here, and we have our first pen, which is just a small round pen. It's not big at all, and we don't keep 9 camels in here at all times because they just get really frustrated with each other in confined spaces. It's a bit like I don't know, Christmas dinners with families. When everyone's in a confined space, stuff can happen, you know, people will disagree. So, you know, we're funneling in. So can you guys see that how the funnel is set up here, that we've got our main entrance down here, and then we're funneling in. We've got a smaller area to basically, well, we can close that gate behind them to start with, then to encourage them to go through the race, which ends up going through to a bigger round yard where their 9 camels are more than comfortable of being in this big area here. So this is the funnel setup. Now, if you have new camels, fresh camels, or camels that you want to introduce to yards, I would recommend you get them in a routine. Every day or every second day, or whatever you can afford in time, bring them through your funnel setup into the yards. And it can be as makeshift as you like. There will be errors. There will be lots of trials and seeing what works best. You know, that's happened for us too. But just get them into that routine, and it doesn't, and whether that be their feed is in here, so you muster them into here, you know, you get behind them or you lead them in, whatever your situation is, and then this is where their feed is here. You want to create that routine. So all we have to do, if we want our camels to come into the yards, is we call them. We've got like a little call that's kind of like calling a cat. We go, come on, camels, put, and they come strolling up. They just know that call, and we've trained them into that. So that over time, we actually did that with food. So we don't train with food, but it's sort of like that Pavlov's experiment that they did with the dogs. So they had the feeding station set up for the dogs, and they would ring a bell, and every time that bell would ring, then they would get the dogs in to feed, and they did that routine, and then all they had to do was ring the bell and the dogs would come. It's the same setup with camels. It's an easy way to get camels into the yard. So you can choose a calling, whether you want to call their names. If you've got a herd of camels, choose your calling. And, normally we would be feeding them out alfalfa hay / lucerne hay, and would call them up, and they get onto it so quickly. They're incredibly smart like that. And they don't hold it against you if you don't have food for them. They're like, oh, okay, well, we're here. What do you want us to do? So, normally it's just come into the yards here. So back to the yard. So, yes, big round pen here. All these panels are here. It's not, they're removable cattle panels. They're not higher than any normal panels. The only thing we got custom made higher was the race height. So it'd probably normally be about there, I imagine. And we just got that higher again. And we got the length of this race. So from here to up to there's a normal panel size. And then we got them to add a half panel onto the race. And that does fit nicely a camel's body length. And also enough length, and all our size, because we've got different size camels, small, medium, large, extra large. You can also put a bar behind them if you need to, or in front of them. So it's created room for that. Anyway, I'll get back to the race soon. So these are just those portable cattle panels. We've made it a little bit more permanent by putting so when we tie up camels here, we make sure we tie at these points where we've put a star picket in the ground, and we've put wire around it so that if the camel, if and when, which it will, pull back, the whole paddle isn't going to collapse on the inside, which has happened before. So I would say, what is it, every second or every 2 panels. So there's a star picket there. I know you guys in the States call them something different, drop something. But they're the steel posts that go into the ground. So every 2 panels, another star picket, and then 2 panels, and then another one. So this can never collapse in on itself. And and we can have 9 camels, tied up around here. And everyone could be pulling back at the same time, and it's not going to have we're not going to be squashed into the middle. Camels love making wallows, as you can see here. We've had an amazing amount of rain here. That's why this grass is all green. Normally it's just dirt. So that's their spot. Anyone that gets tied up here is a very lucky camel. So our goal here, ideally, will be to get this filled with sand. So on wet days, the camels can come here, or wet weeks, I should say, because camels their feet don't do too well in the wet weather. We would put them in here and with the sand. So we just haven't got to that stage yet. This actually entire area outside the yards has just been completed. So I'll go out here and then I'll show you what it looks from the outside. We actually just got this fence here. So this is actually Camel Yard Paddock now, which is great. This is where we do all our training. We actually are starting a 5-day course tomorrow, and we do the initial training in the yards here. And then when it's time to walk outside the yard for this first time, we've got all this space here, to do the walk-in. And, if we want to graze the camels out, we've got this post and rail fence, which is really there for looks. It's not like we wouldn't tie a camel up on this because it's only pinned together and it twists. But we do have an electric wire. Don't hesitate ever using electric everywhere. So this, none of this would stop the camel. If we just had the post and rail, they'd lean over this and try and find the best grass over there. But with this wire here, electrified, which it's not at the moment, they won't go near it. It's as simple as that. You know, once they're trained into it, they just won't go near it again. They're pretty good like that. So, oh, hey, Gail, you enjoying that grass? It's actually not the grass they're enjoying. It's these little seed pod things that are on top. Hi, you ready for a training week? Happy camels. They're all losing their summer or winter coat at the moment, so they look a bit daggy. So yeah, like before this fence was here, all we had was these yards. And even before this big yard here, all we had was that smaller yard, which I first took you through. So it doesn't have your setup. This is our ideal, and it still isn't perfect because we want to put sand in, and we actually want to cover it as well for our training courses. So this is just not to say this is what you need. This is just to give you ideas on how you can make it work for yourself. If you need anything, I would say the most helpful thing to have was definitely like some sort of round pen situation, and the race. A race, what do you guys call it in States? I think you call it a race, is the most helpful thing you could ever have. You can use it for first time haltering, you can use it for drenching, you can use it for veterinary care. There's just like, I think it was the best investment that we ever made. And like I said, initially we just had this round situation here. Oh, hi, who's this? Oh, Jesper. Hello, beautiful. Look at his afro. Oh, he's my mate. He's been through it. He was a very sick camel there for a while, so he's pretty, I think he appreciates me for that. Hey, you're a good boy. Yeah. So yeah, initially we just had this little yard, and we did everything like with the vet came, it was all just, okay, we've got to hobble them down, all that sort of stuff. But definitely a time saver is having a race like this. And obviously we got the 2 sliding gates here and here. So I'll just check, there's somebody having trouble hearing. Oh yeah, a chute, that's right. I know, yeah, a chute. I knew it was something else. People like, I remember we were in the States, we're like, yeah, let's bring the camel through the race. I'm like, a race? What's a race? Yeah, shoot. So we've modified this quite a bit. So as you can see, we've doubled, well, not doubled, I'd say like quartered the height again, so a camel can comfortably fit under there without having to duck. I've seen people just get normal cattle height and the camels just learn to duck. But for the amount of camels that we get through, and especially newbies, it's just easy. We're set up for camels. We've got no other interest in cattle and horses and things like that. So it's just purely camels here. And the other thing, so we had set up here, which initially these little gates here on the chute, there we go, I'm talking properly now. And this one comes undone too. These little gates here was set up so that we could milk camels. But at the end of the day, we decided not to milk camels. But this is extremely helpful when you need to get a needle into the camel, or we've just used it for random things, even just stepping on this part here to get up to the camel's level. This is the other thing I would do. So we have a step stool here that for drenching, that we actually have to climb all the way up to drench because they're so tall. But the other thing I would do is actually get a platform, like a removable platform made here, so that, you know, just wheels away or whatever, steel platform, that when we are drenching, we don't have to try and climb up here and we're hanging on like monkeys and, you know, trying to do our best to drench. I mean, this is, I'm telling you, our ideal. So, yeah, this might give you some ideas moving forward. But yeah, this little gate here has been helpful for all sorts of things. Not necessary, but, you know, it's there. And also those little, it's just pinned in there, so those pins can come out, so these can fully move out if need be. I know our vet has found those helpful. So, so that's any questions about the chute? Oh, we do have these. We got these welded in as well, which are extremely helpful. So the camels normally come through this way, and then you know, we close the gates in on them. A little tip here if a camel's, it works better with 2 people working. A camel's coming through, well, even 3 people, I mean, ideally, but you can do it with 2. The camel's coming through here. Okay, this gate remains open as the camel comes through. You may remember this lesson in virtual camel training school, if you've been through that, getting the camels through the chute. If you leave this gate open, or even just close slightly more than that, ready to close, and so one person's on that gate, another person's on this gate, the camel comes through, rush to close, and then rush to close behind. If that gate, I'm sure you could train camels into this, but if that sliding gate was closed, the camel would hesitate to walk through. Remember, they like open spaces. They like to be able to see an out. And like I said, you could probably train camels into that. So yeah, any questions about the chute setup?
Hey, just quickly, how would you like access to the full tutorial on this camel topic? Become a member of our Camel Academy now, and you not only get access to this camel information, but a whole library of camel information. The Camel Academy is an online portal for camel owners and camel lovers just like you, which consists of a library of camel information, including entertaining camel vet talks and procedures, camel handling techniques and camel psychology talks, access to the latest and greatest info on camel husbandry and well-being, even workshops on how to make your own camel equipment, and of course a forum to ask your camel questions to camel professionals. This is just a glimpse on what you'll get access to in the Camel Academy. It's the camel flicks for the camel lover. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. Come join us, our resident camel vet, and a community of camel connectors worldwide over at camelacademy.com. That's CAMELEER academy.com.